Hello. Thanks for joining the channel. You know, a little story before we begin. I just recently started this YouTube channel, and I can't believe how hard it is to make a video with no mistakes. Every time I try to record a video, I'm making mistakes on model numbers or focal lengths or f-stops or whatever. So for all of you that have YouTube channels that I enjoy, thank you. I know it's hard work. So I'm not a professional, and I'm not trying to make any money with this YouTube. I'm just kind of having fun doing it. I'm a retired guy living down here in Massachusetts. And during the winter months, so when it's raining, I got nothing better to do than to come out and play with my photography collection and share it with you folks. So first of all, let me say that nothing you are seeing is sponsored. Everything I have, I've bought with my own money, my own hard work. Kind of wish I was sponsored. That would be nice to get free stuff, but I don't. I pay for it. So with that out of the way, let's talk about a couple of lenses that I just received this past week and added to my collection. I'm really into this whole vintage lens thing. I started out with Minolta MC and MD lenses, and I have an amazing collection right now. And then I moved into Sony A-mount lenses with an LAEA4 Sony adapter to use with my Sony cameras. And that has been a very, very positive journey. Sony A-mount lenses are spectacular. They're relatively modern lenses with relatively modern image quality, and they're incredibly inexpensive. And there are hundreds of thousands of them available. But that's a whole other story. I'll do a video on the whole Sony Minolta A-mount lenses down the road. My latest endeavor, and part of my journey, is starting to buy Pentax lenses, German lenses, and Russian lenses. This is a very complicated journey because there are so many variations of all these different lenses. And basically one model number might have 5 different versions over the years. Most of these lenses from Germany, Russia, Pentax are 50 years old or more. So there's a lot has happened in the last few years, and you have to do your sharpening for these lenses because being that old, there's a lot of junk out there. But if you're patient and you work with certain dealers, you can find really, really nice lenses, 2 of which I'm going to share with you today. So let's get into it. The first lens is a Carl Zeiss planar, and this lens was developed for the Rolleiflex cameras. It's amazing. I buy both of these lenses were bought from Used Photo Pro on eBay, which is a division of Roberts Cameras out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I've bought 8 lenses from them so far. Every one has been spectacular. These 2 lenses were rated as good on their scale of 1 through 5. There are 2 levels better than these lenses. But because they were so inexpensive, I took a chance. And they're amazing. I can't imagine how good the excellent and double excellent lenses are, but these are good. So this particular lens from Carl Zeiss, meant for the Rolleiflex cameras, uses a particular type of adapter, which is called a QBM mount. I buy my adapters through Amazon. And for this particular lens, the adapter came from this company called HaoRe, H-A-O-R-E. and they have a focus on photography. That's pretty cool. They refer to this lens as a QBM to NEX. Now, NEX is the same thing as Sony E. And in this particular case, I'm using this lens on my Sony cameras, but I also have an adapter to use them on my Micro Four Thirds cameras. So that's the adapter, about $20 from Amazon. And to use this lens on a Sony camera, it's a simple matter of taking the adapter, a little red dot, and a red dot on the lens, and the red dot to the red dot, and just turning it and clicking it on. Now this lens must be in the manual mode. You have a little switch here, you can go manual and automatic. But since we're going to be using it in the manual mode because it will not communicate with any camera, this is what's called a dumb adapter. So we put it in the manual mode, and then we have full control over the aperture and manual focus. This simply attaches to the camera. I'll show you that right here. As a sidebar, I think it's interesting to note the A6000 Sony is a great body to use with these cameras. First of all, it's relatively inexpensive. You can buy this particular A6000, I paid under $400 for, with a lens, with a 16mm lens, under $400, and it's in absolutely perfect condition. So you can buy an A6000 Sony, and you can buy these vintage lenses, and they go together like, you know, soup and salad. Got to get the red dot, folks. I went to the wrong red dot. And the reason why I say that is the A6000 doesn't have the best focus system. It's an earlier camera in the Alpha line. It's not very quick in focus, but that doesn't matter when you're using lenses that are manual focus and manual aperture. It's a great camera, has a great sensor. Everything else about it is fabulous. It just doesn't have the performance of the more modern Sony Alpha cameras. Perfect to be used with these inexpensive vintage lenses. So that's it. That's how you mount it. Now to remove it, you simply push this button on the side here, and it just comes right off. Like I said, talking about mistakes, that's not the button you push to take the lens off. That's the button you push to remove the lens from the adapter. You see how easy it is to make mistakes? Another thing about this lens that I think is interesting is how smooth it is. I mean, I've got a lot of lenses in my collection at this point. Nothing is this smooth. None of my modern lenses feel like this. This thing just, it's amazing. And you know, even the aperture, it just turns so smooth. Beautiful, beautiful lens. This thing has one or two little teeny specks of dust, has absolutely no balsam separation, no fungus, nothing. Just in great shape. Highly recommend buying lenses through used Photo Pros on eBay. Even came with a really cool Rollei little cover. I'm going to put it back together so I can put it away. Yeah, so that's the Rollei f1.8 50mm Carl Zeiss lens. The other lens that I received, which is even to me more interesting, is I finally bought a 1.4 50mm Super Takumar. I've always wanted one of these, but I wanted one in nice condition, and there's a lot of dogs out there, so be very careful if you're buying these. And this lens was made in no less than 5 different versions over the years. The very first version are crazy expensive, hundreds of dollars. They didn't make many of them. It was very expensive. There are dozens and dozens of YouTube channels and websites that deal with these lenses, so I won't go into all of that with you. This one, as you can see, has that yellow coloring. It was made from what we guess 1971, 1972. Back then, they were actually putting a radioactive element in the glass to make the glass optically better. This lens probably has that, hence the yellow coloring. Now, when you buy these lenses, you can get rid of this yellow by using a UV light. You simply put a UV light on the lens for a couple of days and the yellow goes away. But lots of people like the yellow. It gives a particular character to the pictures that you're taking with it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to remove it or not. I'm not sure. This lens uses a screw-on M42 mount. And this is M42 to Sony E. I'm going to do another video on all these mounts because this one's a little interesting in that this center ring revolves and it's locked down with 3 little Allen head screws, but that's for another conversation. And once you get it aligned up properly, it simply just screws onto the lens, and then the lens itself simply mounts to the camera. That's it. Once again, this lens must be in the manual position to be used. And again, 50-year-old lens. This thing is smooth as silk. Not quite as smooth as the Rollei, but really smooth. Now, unfortunately, it's been raining for the last couple of days, so I haven't had a chance to go outside and take some serious pictures, but I've walked around the house and taken a bunch of pictures of different things with both of these lenses, and they're both spectacular. The image quality is excellent, just really, really good. A lot of folks say that these old vintage lenses have a certain character, a film quality, and they kind of do. I'm finding that the telephoto lenses, 135 and bigger, those lenses add more of a film quality character. These 50 millimeter, 28 millimeters, 55, 58 millimeters, they're not that far off from many of our digital lenses. And I guess maybe if you get a good one, maybe if you don't get a good one, it's going to have some character, as they say. Some people like that. Some people consider it poor image quality. It's your call. I love playing around with them. I love collecting them. To me, the hunt, trying to find the lens that I'm looking for, is sometimes more exciting than the actual lens itself. That's kind of weird, but that's kind of the way it is. So anyways, that's what we got today. We've got 2 new lenses brought into the family, and very pleased with both of them. So once again, thanks for joining me today, and please subscribe, like this channel if you would. That might help my little journey into YouTubedom. Anyways, once again, thank you. Have a great day.